Okay, you're still on to TVC Breakfast Saturday. Well, from breaking records to breaking barriers, autistic teenager Kanyeyachukwu continues to inspire through his resilience and remarkable achievements. He has been recognized as the youngest person to cycle more than 100 miles than 100 miles after completing a 686-mile journey from Enugu to Lagos to mark World Autism Awareness Day. The non-verbal teen is using the feat to raise awareness about autism and the need for greater inclusion and support for people living with the condition in Nigeria. This comes a year after he set a Guinness World Record for creating the largest painting on canvas by an individual. Well, joining us in our Abuja studio for this conversation is World Guinness Record holder Kanyeyachukwu Okeke, who also have his father, who is also the founder, executive director, Kanyeyachukwu Autism Society, Tagbo Okeke. Wow. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah. You are an example of a good parent because autistic children really blossom when you give them a lot of love and attention. So first of all, I want to commend you for being such a great dad. Now, tell us about your son.
Thank you. Kanye is now 16-year-old, handsome boy who has been living with autism. He has, first of all, used art to express himself over the years. He started painting when he was 5 years old. He has been able to exhibit his art pieces in virtually all parts of the world. Currently, he has some of his pieces in the United Nations headquarters as an exhibition is ongoing right now. Wow. with his paintings. Kanye has exhibited in Austria. He has won the Flame of Peace Award, which he got at the age of 8. He's the youngest to have gotten that award, and the only Nigerian so far, bestowed on him by the Archduke and Archduchess of Austria. Kanye, when we discovered he had autism, of course it was something that we didn't know anything about. And after the diagnosis, we began to look for what we felt would be a remedy. But by the grace of God, we were able to discover his flair for art. We were able to discover and nurture his gift for art. And so far, Kanye has used that gift to let the world know that children living with autism are not to be left behind. They say in every disability there's an ability, and he's a living example of that. Like I said, he's now 16 years old. He's growing up to be a man, and he continues to develop himself every day. Recently, we rode from Enugu to Lagos, and that too was just, aside from letting the world know what autistics can do, it was also to spread awareness about autism and give us an opportunity to be able to discuss autism at the grassroots level to those who are underserved and unserved areas. Because autism is something that it continues to develop, it continues to increase all over the world. Though we may not have the accurate statistics here in Nigeria, but in the United States, we are told that 1 in every 37 children now are living with autism in the United States of America. So and that is up from 1 in 90 children about 10, 15 years ago. So it's something that needs to be discussed, and we're using the ability which we have right now to get that discussion out there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking with us, and thank you so much, Kanye, as well, for actually being here to share your gift and your light with us. Now, my question will be with regards to, I'm sure it was a tough time literally finding out after Kanye was born that he had autism. But beyond that, you did speak about him starting to paint when he was 5 years old and having to cultivate that gift. And that is a father that obviously is paying attention. And so I want to ask, so at what point, how did you first discover that he has a gift for painting, and what were the steps you took to cultivating that particular gift? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people watching. To be very honest, even people that do not have autism have not even got seen and done as much as he has already done. So what steps were taking to cultivate that gift intentionally?
Okay, first of all, I mean, when Kanye was born and when we began to read this, when we realized that he had these developmental issues, he was not developing at the right pace. We took him to several hospitals here in Abuja. We were not able to get a proper diagnosis. In fact, some doctors just simply said he was just a bit slow and he would catch up, and he wasn't talking at all. He was completely non-verbal. And so we, of course, by the time we got the diagnosis, which was outside the country, when we came back, like I said, a lot of confusion, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness. But my wife and I were able to pick up really very quickly. One of the things that we did was we realized in quick time that sacrifices had to be made. First, there was eating disorders, and we needed to check that. My wife had to leave her job and become a stay-at-home mom, and we started to really focus on him. Now, in focusing on him, because that is the point, you can't have a child or a child who's living with autism, especially, and just leave him in the hands of teachers or caregivers. You need to understand the child, and so we focused on him. We were able to understand a lot of things. He had sleeping disorders, eating disorders, and a lot of energy, hyperactivity. And so we were looking for what is that thing that we could actually do to tame the hyperactivity, get him to sleep at night, get him to eat properly. We were trying gluten-free food. It was not working. We were trying all sorts of things. And then we said, okay, we thought about it, because of the hyperactivity, why don't you get to do something sports-like? And so we tried soccer. Of course, he was not flowing with it. We tried tennis. He was not flowing with it, of course, because it was very, very difficult to take instructions. And then we found out every day we would go out and come back, we would see all sorts of writings on the wall. And I said, this boy is just, turning this house upside down. If he had a pen in his hand, he's writing on the chair, he's writing all over the place. I'm like, my God. I told my wife, okay, what we do, let's buy rolls of A4 paper. So we'd buy a whole roll of A4 paper, leave it in the house. He would go to school, he'd get back. Between when he would get back from school and when I would get back from work, he would have scribbled on all the sheets of that roll of A4 paper. Significant thing, he would never want to scribble on the other side, just one side. So I would gather all the paper again and I would turn it over and I'll say, scribble on this side. He would not touch it. He kept doing this and we kept painting and repainting walls, repainting and repainting the walls. And then one day, because of course in all of these things that we were doing, never put aside the power of prayers, the power of being spiritually inclined. At this point, we were really, really so focused on him and praying, asking for something, asking for a way, a miracle. Of course, at that time, as parents of a baby, we were looking for, listen, let him start talking, let this thing go away. God answered us, but in a different way. Somebody comes into the house one day, sees the writings on the wall, says, wow, this is artistic. And I'm like, what do you mean by artistic? This is gibberish, this is rubbish. And he's like, no, this boy probably has a flair for art. Take him to an art teacher. So that started the journey. We took him to the first art teacher. Art teacher sat down with him, said, no, I can't work with this boy. He's too stubborn, he doesn't listen. And I'm just like, do you know what autism is? He says, no. I said, no problem. Took him away, went to another art teacher. Second art teacher said they don't know what autism is and they can't work with him. The third art teacher, we went to fourth art teacher. Fourth art teacher was a lady, Pakistani lady here in Abuja. We got there, she said she doesn't know what autism is about, but she just said, oh, cute boy, leave him alone. I think maybe he's doing all of this, he's so hyperactive because he sees his parents. So you guys go away, leave him with me for about 10 minutes, go away. So we got into the car and acted like we were driving off. Outside the compound, the woman calls us after about 3-4 minutes. Says, come back. We come back, and she's almost in tears, and she's saying, listen, this boy is a genius. And I'm like, genius, care? Which kind of genius? And then she's like, I told him to do something which I know a grown-up artist cannot do. We find it hard to do. And he just did it and flung the paper back at me. And he did it with a pencil, and not even with, colors. And I'm like, oh, okay. He said, can you keep your son with me? I said, no, I'm not keeping my son with you. But I can bring him. And then she's like, okay, I'll work with him. I'll read up about autism. I'll go on Google. I'll start to read about autism. I have to work with your son. I attribute a lot of our progress so far today to the blessing of meeting that woman, Mrs. Kokap. She's the one that now took him in, began to nurture him, began to groom him. She would, because of his hyperactivity again, I would take him to her class, and I'll sit in the living room while he's in the class, because she would come outside. Kanye is not listening, and I'll have to come in and say, Kanye, listen. And then he would sit down, and we had to keep doing that. And if I wasn't doing it, my wife was doing it. And so we kept doing that. And one day, of course, whilst they're still very deep spiritually, deep in prayer, still asking for a way. To us, the art was not really the gift. The art was just the path. The art was like, okay, I'm trying to give you a little bit of succor. So he has art. So we started buying canvas, we were buying paint in the house. Every time we travel, we were buying all sorts of colors, and he's painting. He could paint all night, literally all night, at the age of 5, 6. Of course, that was scary to us. And so we would keep on, we would have to force him to go to bed. You would have to pull him. Once he has that brush, paint, canvas, he's laughing, he's smiling. Now, I know that happens a lot with a lot of children living with autism, laughing hysterically, laughing for no reason. But in his own case, it seemed like there was something bringing them together. And so we kept on doing it. And then one day, all of a sudden, my stepmom comes to the house to see us. She was living in Vienna then, and she comes and she says, "Oh, can you give me one of your art pieces?" He picks up one painting. He literally flung it at her, like, "Take and go, I beg," and walks away. And she takes it. A few weeks after that, she calls and says, "There's somebody that came to my office and he saw this art piece, asked who did it." I said, "My grandson." And the person said, "It's not possible," and says he wants to speak to us. I told my wife, "Forget these people, I beg. Let's just be doing what we're doing and looking after this boy." Next thing, they call again, then they call again, and next thing they say, "Can we come to Austria?" I tell my wife, "Come to which Austria? With which money now? I don't have any money, I beg. Leave these people." And then they call again and say, "This is the day they need you to be here." A letter comes in from the royal family that your son has been selected to be given an award. His art propagates world peace. And I'm like, okay.
I can imagine the scenario. Yeah. I can imagine the scenario. You know, let's talk about his cycling too. Okay, so let me jump all of that. So that's how we got into art anyway. Okay.
And, we started going on and on.
Brilliant.
Now, Kanye had a medical incident when he was about 7. We needed him to get an MRI, and they gave him a shot. And that shot, he got an abscess. His leg wasn't moving again, his right leg. Really serious. We still didn't know what to do. Luckily, before that, I was trying to teach him to ride a bicycle because, like I told you, hyperactivity was a problem for us. And we always needed to tame the energy. We needed to get him to rest. So I would get him on the bicycle, ride. And so now we found out that, okay, we read up and found out that riding the bicycle would be good therapy when you have a leg injury. So now riding the bicycle was no more for fun. It was no more for games. Now it was going to be serious. So I'll take Kanye every day. We would go 1 hour around Abuja, around Maitama in Abuja. Wow. We'll go around 1 hour every day. And he had to ride the bicycle. I would be jogging beside him and he'd be riding the bicycle. Initially, we were riding the bicycle like 2-3 times a week. But now because of that abscess, he had to be riding every single day. So we were doing that from when he was about 7. Kept doing it. The medical condition was dealt with. He got his foot back together. Now we realized, okay, yeah, he's riding the bicycle, he's enjoying it. He would come out and say, of course, he started to get a few words. He would come and say, when he sees me getting dressed to go jogging, "Daddy, I want to ride." And I'll say, "Okay, join me." So we kept doing it and doing it. Now, when we had the last Guinness World Record last year for the largest painting on canvas, that was my wife's idea. And how she came up with that idea is she said if Kanye had been painting on a 20-foot by 10-foot wide, big canvas at the age of 9, 10, Kanye was painting 20-foot long, 10-foot high. He would stand on crates and be painting. Wow. Some of those paintings are world pieces. They are in museums now all over the world. And my wife said if he could do that when he was 8, between 8 and 10, then he can paint on a 12,300 square meter canvas here in Abuja. That was at the age of 15. And so he did it successfully. So after that, we saw the success of it. We saw how wide that story went and how it was able to shed a lot of light on the autistic society. So we said, for our autism awareness campaign this year, my wife said he's been riding since he was basically 6 years old. And he has been riding 1 hour, 6 kilometers. 6 kilometers at the age of 6, 7. He has been going 6 kilometers while I jogged beside him, uphill, downhill. My wife said, at this point, this boy will be able to ride anywhere. And so we got a coach. And that coach started to give him intensive training here. Coach Nabil, here in Abuja. From April last year up till March this year. He was riding every other morning, about 3-4 times every morning. 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours sometimes. And so we now started to plot and plan and say, okay, where are the places we've not been able to reach? Underserved areas, unserved areas. Because we realized in our autism campaign that there are people, autism is not a rich man's problem. It's not a disease, obviously, but it's not just in the big men, because that's what people usually hear about. It's quite a very expensive thing to deal with. So we started to go into those, we started to think about it, and then my wife came up with the idea, let's ride from Enugu to Lagos. And that's how that idea came up.
Fantastic.
It took off.
Fantastic. And hearing that it's that feat was done by an autistic boy it makes it even better. I wish we could have you for another 20-30 minutes because I was really enjoying this thing. It also shows that being autistic doesn't mean you are a big disabled or a burden to anybody. It just needs love. Once again, I want to commend you and your wife for the amount of love you've poured on your son. And the amount of money you've also poured on him, it's commendable. That's Mr. Tagbo Okeke. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And what you're doing has taught a lot of people how to handle their autistic children. God bless you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
God bless you. God bless you. Can you say bye?
All right. Bye. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to see the next record you break because I know you're coming for something else the next year. Thank you so much. All right.
Now we're resting.
You're resting now. Okay, but soon enough.
All right.